Hello and welcome to another YouTube video. This is the second video for this playlist. As you can see from the title of this video, this will be about my upbringing. I've had to do a second take of this video because my Zeri that was on my phone thought I was speaking to her. So that was rather annoying and frustrating. I have now turned off my phone. Hopefully this fixes that situation. As you can see from the slide here, I have given you a few images to show you what I will be talking about so you have an idea of what to expect. Now, I have lived in two countries in my time, South Africa being part of it, and then UK for the rest of my life. I am also a Dutch heritage because that's where my ancestors are from, and I discovered that with my father when he did the history of our family. I was born in March 1997, and that was in South Africa, Port Elizabeth. And then I came to the UK briefly for a year in 2002 to 2003. And then I came to the UK again permanently in 2008 and have been living here ever since. And the reason for this is because my parents are divorced. So if you are going through a divorce with your parents or have had that happen to you, I can totally understand how you feel about it. Of course, I didn't have the best reactions. I was very livid with the situation because it's me trying to understand why it happened. And I've had both parents, actually, no, only my mother, explain to me why it happened. So I have yet to hear my father's side of the story. But I don't really think he has any explanation to it. It was quite the challenge living in two countries, but I did it. I received very, very variable education from both countries, and of course, in South Africa, education is not free. It's equivalent to a month rent in the UK, so you can imagine how expensive it is. It's actually more than that. I think from my Google research, it said something like 1,800 a year for South African schools, and excuse me, it is more in private schools. In the UK, we are lucky to have free education as well as free healthcare. You also need to pay for healthcare in South Africa. And I remember I was very fascinated of The Sims when that became available to us in the year 2000. So it's been around for 26 years. So yes, The Sims is getting old now, but I still play it to this day. I don't necessarily play, although you've probably seen me play The Sims 1 on my channel because it can be very difficult to play and it's so demanding. But I do now play The Sims 4, which is a more modern version of the game with regular updates and regular add-ons, and yeah, it's just an easier version to play. And I'm mostly looking forward to playing the Royal Legacy. Hopefully that inspires my Legacy series. I have yet to travel to the Netherlands. That's on my bucket list, actually, as I do want to walk the land that my ancestors walked on. That would be really cool. But my cousin has been, so that's lucky for her. And my childhood was the 2000s era. So, yes, I experienced a lot of modern technology being introduced to us, the early insides of the DVDs. I remember seeing one of the earliest laptops. Yeah, so a lot of things happened. I used to play. I still own one, but obviously it's not the same one. But I used to play Nintendo DS quite a lot, Nintendo Wii quite a lot, ranging from bowling to sports, to anything you can possibly think of. And it's just nice to see that even with my Sims obsession, they have Nintendo DS Sims games and Nintendo Wii Sims games as well. And maybe, who knows, in my second apartment, I might invest in a Nintendo Wii again, just to give me and my support workers, as well as any guests and visitors, something to play with, I suppose, or pass the time. So yeah, that would be really nice to have again. Obviously, I am very fussy with what I like in regards to games and entertainment. So yeah, you'll get to know me and my likes and dislikes in this playlist. So yes, this video will be scheduled and so will the rest of the playlist. I thought it was only fair that the mini introduction was released there and then, so that it adds to my content channel, and then you have more content to enjoy. I'm hoping to get like maybe 1 or 2 viewers on this playlist. It might not be very interested, but it is relevant to me, and you can get to know me. My upbringing was a little strict. I was born into a very high functioning Christian household, which is why I am Christian to this day. And there was a lot of spanking involved, which is why I have a fear of belts, and that is banned in my house, regardless of fashion, because of my past. And this is really difficult for me to talk about, but yeah, I thought I'd just, come out with confidence and share that with you. So my father would say things like, "Oh, that's what everyone was doing at the time with their children," and it's like, I don't care what everyone else is doing. I care about myself. And he would be like, "Did I scar you?" And I was like, I don't think I responded really, but yes, you did scar me mentally. So, but I feel like with him, with a mental scar, that's not important to him. I think for him, if it was a physical scar, he would be more concerned about that than anything. And it would be over ridiculous things like losing a pencil, for example, which is what I did do once. And money was so tight for us because I was unfortunately born into a poor family. So many of us were forced into working. And even though there is, according to Google, benefits as well in South Africa, I think it would be more challenging to receive them in that country than it would be in the UK, because in the UK we do have it a lot more easier for us in regards to receiving benefits and financial support. And my mother was good enough to pay for my education in South Africa, so I do thank her for that. I didn't appreciate my father manipulating her and using me as a target against her, saying that if you don't pay, you'll never see her again, because I do question things and I will fight for things because I am a fighter. Everyone knows this in my social circles, especially if it is things that are important to me. And at the time of my upbringing, my mother was important to me, but it became difficult when she remarried, because during the early 2000s, she did visit me on her honeymoon, since I couldn't come to her wedding because my unfortunate father was jealous about it. And I thought it was a bit unfair that I couldn't go because he didn't want me to go. I was going to be, I think, either a flower girl or a bridesmaid, and my stepfather was good enough to acknowledge my presence not being there, because of being in South Africa at the time. But they did make an effort to come and see me during their honeymoon in South Africa, which was good of them to do. And I was, of course, not in the best of states. I had lots of mosquito bites. I was overweight. And yeah, my father refused to learn how to cook because he is a bit lazy. And we had quite a lot of fast foods, like KFC, McDonald's, I do actually own a photo of one of my very first Happy Meals, which was a nice memory. I remember that very well. And I don't have the toys from that Happy Meal anymore, unfortunately. Probably lost or thrown away because obviously I am grown up now. But yes, I do have a photo on my Dropbox where I store all the photos. Now, over the years, I have moved so many times. It wouldn't surprise me if this place that I'm at now is number 50 because, I have moved mainly because my father didn't want to take on the responsibility of being a dad. And there were times where he would dump me at my aunt's place, my grandmother's place. It would change a lot. He did make an effort to see me whilst I was at my aunt's place. And we almost ate the dog's dinner because the dog's dinner was basically the same meal as a whole meal. And yes, that was not very good either. Um, but I do want to thank my auntie, my grandmother, may she rest in peace now, and my cousin for taking care of me during the time I was living there. My father did also have two girlfriends, obviously at different times, and their children automatically became my step siblings, and they also took care of me. But I feel that my father didn't actually love them. My um uh my they don't actually have any relation to me, but they would have been my stepmothers. Um, Sadly, one of them doesn't want any contact with either of us, and we have to unfortunately respect her decision. But her son died of cancer, may he rest in peace, um, after I moved to the UK. When I was in one of my first care homes, I had the news from him, and when he did bother to write to me, it was never a really nice letter. And there wasn't any good news on there. Like, he didn't say how my grandmother was doing, he didn't say how my cousin was doing, or my auntie, or my uncle for that matter. And it was like I had to be the one to ask those questions, otherwise, I wouldn't get an answer or know about anyone. And it was at the time I was too young to have social media or a phone because my father, you would have to be very strict around him if you owned any technology, because if he liked your technology, he would either take it for himself or he would sell it. And that's what he did when I was growing up. Yeah, so it was a bit of a difficult time. My mother did make the effort into calling me when she could, when I did have access to a mobile. And I bet it was probably a very expensive call. I don't think they're in use now, which is a bit sad because they are very useful for abroad calls. But my mother used to use the telephone box, which is such a British icon, really, and it's a bit sad that most of them are no longer in use. I mean, not even the modernized ones, which look a little American to me, are in use anymore. So people do attempt to use them thinking that they would work, and then they get disappointed and lose out on their change because I've noticed some people lose their change in the phone boxes, and then I assume the homeless people steal that change for themselves. So yeah, it's just not great, really. We left. Me and my mother left South Africa because of crime and maybe the heat as well. Yes, even though the UK is a rather cold country, it's not as cold as in comparison to Canada or Antarctica. Um, so yes, it's definitely a much better home for us. I do want to do a dedicated video on the situation of my family as well, so that you can get to know me and my family members and who's important to me. But yes, this was the upbringing I was put in. It was really difficult. I was a target to bullies as well because I was supposed to be raised in Afrikaans as my first language, but my father insisted I speak English, which became difficult for me because when it it came to education, especially primary schools, they um, well, there was Afrikaans speaking kids, and they would use that to their advantage and bully me out of it. But they were good enough to translate to English, so they weren't completely a bully, even though they were. And many of them to this day can't stand being in contact with me, which is a little sad because I don't know what I've ever done to them apart from being kind. So it just goes to show you that not everybody is suited to your social circles. So, you can choose your friends. You have that right. Whilst we do want to be everyone's friend, you should perceive yourself as an ally, and that is exactly what I intend on doing. According to those bullies that I had to put up with in the school, which I think is a load of crap, really, because I don't remember this at all, and this would be something that I remember. But apparently, I had a fake wedding with one of them, and he always brings it up every time I do get in contact with him, and his so-called friends always remind him of that event too, which I think is a little bit unfair because I'm just there like, what on earth are you talking about? That doesn't sound like me at all. Like I would never even dream of having a fake wedding with anyone unless I was pressured into it. Or maybe I fancied them at the time, I don't know, because when I was growing up, I thought I was straight. But things changed as I grew older, which you'll soon get to learn and know as well. Um, yes, I had a family dog called Timmy. He was one of the best dogs. He is also in a displayed photo that I have in my bedroom and will be displayed in my living room in my next apartment. Because he was one of the best dogs. I grew up with both cats and dogs, so I can't really choose between them because I do love them both. And yes, I had many cats as well. Three cats with the same name, sorry, as Toulouse, the name was, and I chose that name from watching the Aristocats, which is my favorite Disney movie. And that movie makes me feel very emotional every time I watch it because it reminds me of my childhood when it was a simpler, innocent time. And yes, my cousin and I were very close. We fought like sisters. She basically is my sister I never had because she is a blood relative, and she is one person I will not share with anyone. You can have my auntie, sure, that's fine, and my uncle, but my cousin is a no because she will know me very well, more than anyone in any of my social circles. Because obviously we did spend a lot of time together playing Sims, listening to music. The song Every Time We Touch by Cascada reminds me of her, and I can't listen to it because I do get emotional. So, yes, I'm sure you can understand that. I was also under the influence of millennials because my cousin is 7 years older than me, so she is actually a millennial. So I'm Gen Z. I like to think I am a Zillennial, which is a combination of millennial and Gen Z. And I've been told that that is Gen Z creating those names. And maybe it is. Who knows? But, who are you to judge with that? Maybe I created it. Who knows? You don't know. So like I said, who knows? And I want to believe that I am part of two generations because I was in the influence of a millennial and then born Gen Z. I learned recently that the city I was born in had been renamed in 2021. I'm not going to share the new name because it's hard to pronounce, but you can Google it. It is Port Elizabeth is the original name, and to me it will always be Port Elizabeth because that's where I was born. Um, Unfortunately, that is the same place my father was born as well, because my mother was born in Johannesburg. I did grow up in Johannesburg as well, and I remember being frightened of the crickets that were there because they had like thorns on their back, and there was different colors and different sizes of them, and they were just so noisy and horrendous, and they were like it was like being surrounded by many spiders because we had that too in South Africa since it was a hot country, and there were many tarantulas that I came across in South Africa. Most of them were outside, but they did come into the house. I remember when I lived with my father's second girlfriend, possibly, yes, second girlfriend. I was very attached to one of her cats called Garfield, and he would, yes, named after Garfield, he would come and cuddle with me and sleep with me as well on top of my stomach. And I used to love hearing the sound of his purring. And just as I was about to sleep, I looked at the ceiling and there was an eight-legged friend. Well, I'm not really friends with them because they're not welcome in my house, and they will more than likely, and I'm sorry to say this, but they will more than likely end up dead wherever I live, unless someone is generous to take them outside for me where they belong. So I ran from my room after I took the cat off my stomach, and I ran to my father who was watching, I think rugby at the time, possibly, and I was like, Daddy, there's a spider in my room. And he was like, oh, I'm sure it's a little one. I'm like, no, it's a big one. Because obviously I didn't know the name of the breed of the spider at the time until I was older. And I don't know what happened exactly, but from my memory, I think my father flushed that spider down the toilet. I don't know how, but he did it. And poof, gone, it was gone. There was a spider on my window as well, which was not a tarantula, but it was outside and my window was closed. So I was like, well, unless they find a way through the gaps of the windows, which they may do, I'm pretty sure I'm safe now. It was really scary as well, and thank you for my cousin for protecting us. And that's why many of our houses do have dogs, mostly big dogs or aggressive dogs, for protection. One night at my cousin's house, we were in the lounge and she heard a noise, thinking that there may have been a trespasser or someone trying to break in. And because she was frightened, she wanted to see what it was. And she went to the kitchen and took out a sharp knife for protection. And that really scared me. And I stayed with the dogs during that time. And she went around the house to make sure. But I think there was nothing there, and hopefully there wasn't anything. As far as I know, there wasn't anything. We were introduced to The Sims 2. My cousin actually played it on her computer in her room, and I remember asking, so she will probably learn about this through my videos, and I do apologize, but this is in the past now, so you need to move on. it's done, it's happened. It won't happen again because I will never play Sims 2 again, and probably because of this situation. But I asked my auntie if I could play Sims 2 because I miss playing Sims, and I saw it on her computer and I was really excited. And any version of The Sims at the time didn't matter to me. And my auntie was like, sure, yes, you can, but don't mix your household with her household. And what did I do? I mixed my household with her household. So my auntie knew me very well. And I just never told my cousin, but I'm sure she probably figured it out as she played with um, that household quite frequently, I believe. So yeah, I never touched The Sims again. She did try and show me how to play it once, and she created my family. She created my father, my mother, and me, and she made it where I was a baby and my parents were together again. And that was really nice of my cousin to do because she knew that that is what I wanted at the time when I was growing up, because obviously I was still trying to understand and come to terms that, my parents weren't together anymore. And it was just really frustrating. I think the divorce happened when I was a toddler, so I don't actually remember that, thankfully. My parents were good enough to do it when I was very little, because who would want to remember that at all? Um, yeah, so I didn't have the best reactions of my parents' divorce, which is very understandable. And I'm going to talk about this in my therapy sessions that I have coming up this year, hopefully, or next year at the most. So yes, that was my upbringing. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask in the comments. And yes, I will do some more videos soon. This one will be scheduled and is a little bit longer. Goodness, I've been speaking for almost half an hour straight. So I'm going to plan some more videos behind the scenes, just to cover the relevant topics. And I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now.